Cronin Toyota and Cronin Nissan are honored to partner with Proudly We Served, as well as the continued support of our local active and retired military veterans across eastern Indiana.
I'm Al Bledsoe, VVA, Chapter 777.
I'm Ron Chappell, chaplain for Vietnam Veterans Post 777 here in Richmond. Co-host here with Al at Proudly We Served.
And today our special guest is...
Ramona Chappell.
Okay, so today we're going to have kind of a fun day talking about family and what it's like to be part of a military family as they go through their career. What's it like for the spouse to go through all of that? So with that, Ron, I'm going to let you lead out with some question, and then we'll follow that up.
Well, I met this young lady. Her dad was a first sergeant. And so, you know, I had to be on my P's and Q's. You know? But I met her, and we started dating. But she was military, what we call the military brat.
Sure.
She, her dad. And so she had experiences. Ramona, you might just want to talk about that a little bit. Some of the experiences you had as a...
So let me get this down till I really know what's good. So you were the daughter of a military person.
Yes.
First sergeant, yes.
And that's how you met her then.
Well, I met her actually through a friend of ours.
Okay.
That I played in a band with.
All right.
Yeah.
At Fort Riley.
At Fort Riley.
At Fort Riley. Okay, that's in Kansas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, growing up, I was, well, the hardest part, I think, when you're a kid, especially, is moving. Moving away from, you make friends, then you move. You make friends, and then you move.
Did you get married early?
Yes.
Okay.
I got married this man at 19.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so yeah, my whole adult life.
Sure.
But I've lived a lot of different places.
Yeah.
Colorado being my my favorite. It's just an adjustment. Everywhere, every post or base that we go to, it's just an adjustment period. Everyone's different. Every base is different. And the hard thing is, to me, was packing up and moving all the time.
Sure.
Yes. But when we moved to Selfridge Air National Guard Base, I was an adult, so I began to work at ACS, which is the Army Community Services. And we would take care of new people coming in, make sure they had plates, sheets, different household items. And because I knew how it was to do that, so that's why I wanted to work at ACS, so I can help the new families coming in.
Sure. Did you live on base or off base or?
At our last assignment, we lived on base.
Yes.
Right. But prior to getting there, we was in Germany. And in Germany, you worked for, what was the agency that you worked for that you did key punching for?
Oh, finance company. 59th or finance company.
So while you were in, she could go with you,
Yes.
unless it was a remote tour.
Exactly.
So when you went to Nam, that's when that was cut.
She couldn't go to Nam.
Right, right.
No, I didn't want to go to Nam.
Where were you at when all of that happened, when Vietnam happened? Where were you stationed at?
Actually, we weren't married when I went to Vietnam.
No.
No, we weren't married when I went to Vietnam.
When did you go
Think of
to,
it.
how old were you?
I went to Vietnam at 65.
Oh, wow, yeah, okay. So you were one of the first bunch.
Yes,
I didn't realize
first
that,
Cav
I
division,
guess.
yeah.
One of the first bunch that went over.
Yeah, we were. And we kind of paved the way for quite a few folks.
Yeah. Jim Brown, who was one of our guests a couple of years ago, I don't know whether you remember, but he was on that first team that they sent over as an advisory team. And then, of course, later it got escalated into war.
Yeah.
So what's that like when he leaves and you're still at home? What do you do with that?
Just wait. Just keep living. He was TDY quite often when we were in Germany.
For those out there that don't know what that means, TDY is temporary duties.
Oh,
Assignment.
yes.
You go somewhere and do something, come on back.
Yeah.
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 And when we first got to Germany, I didn't have use or license yet. So it was just me and the kids waiting for him to come back. We didn't live on the military base when we first got to Germany.
Yeah, okay.
So
I like that. When we first got to Germany, we actually lived in the city,
it was wonderful.
right next to a bakery.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I loved that. Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed that experience with my family being with me, these different places.
Sure.
And while we were in Germany, we had a chance to go to England.
Well, yeah. Ronald was in a band, and we traveled a lot. We went Italy, Venice.
Wow.
We went France. We went everywhere.
Now, this wasn't a military band. This was a band composed of people in the military, from the Army and the Air Force, and we had a little secondary thing that we did,
Sure.
and we did quite a bit of traveling.
Yes, we did.
It was interesting.
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
I remember when I was in the States, I was stationed in San Antonio for a while. And the guys there, most of them, their families were there with them. I was lucky enough or fortunate enough that if there was like a Thanksgiving, because I didn't have Thanksgiving at home or Christmas at home, so I was fortunate that guys would invite me to come out to their house and stuff. And I always enjoyed that, even though they had a bunch of little kids back then. I mean, that'd be hard to just, that was hard to adapt to because I really wasn't used to that. When you're used to just, if you will, winging it by yourself, and then all of a sudden you're put in that kind of a thing, it's just different altogether.
We used to invite guys, that
Little young
guys.
Well, sometime
be
it was their
part
first
of
time
our
of being
family.
away from home.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we'd invite them over for holidays because, first time away from their family,
Yeah.
Difficult.
difficult.
Kind of home away from home.
And since I knew what it felt like, we would try to make it nicer
Yeah.
for them as well.
What did you think about the German people?
Very friendly.
Yeah.
Very friendly. The bakery next door, my son kept getting candy. And what it was is she was trying to teach him how to count in German. So every time, whatever he went up to is how many pieces of candy she gave him. And so he came home with 10 pieces of candy one day, and I had to ask her, please don't give him any more candy.
Wow.
But he was picking up the language really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would play with the kids in the apartment, come downstairs and talk to me in German, which
Yeah.
I wasn't picking it up as fast as he was, so.
My brother was career Army, and he spent 4 years in Germany, 5 years in Germany. And I think he would actually went back there.
Yeah.
If they would have let him go back,
Oh, yeah.
I think he would have went back to
I
Germany.
thought
but-
about it for retirement purposes.
yeah,
We
he really liked Germany
talked
though.
about
I
it.
did too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he spent some time in Iraq. He was married when he went to Iraq, and that's something that I noticed, like when I was in, that guys had a few problems there with their marriage when they had to go overseas. And in his case, he divorced his first wife, and part of that was Iraq. When he came home, he had some issues. And according to my mother, I mean, I don't really know this because I wasn't there, but he had issues because of what was going on in Iraq. So then but he was all over, and that's what he liked about it. He liked to travel, and he became a drill instructor. He was with the 82nd Airborne, but then when he come back to the States, they put him as a drill instructor, and then when it got ramped up in Iraq, and that was another thing he wanted to do, is that first Gulf War.
Right.
He wanted to be involved in that, but he was younger then. And
my assignments were so interesting. I was always assigned to NATO units.
okay,
So they were mixed troops from the Netherlands and German troops.
that's all that Eastern.
The
Yeah, it's
complex
Europe.
that we,
Yeah,
the,
sure.
the base that we lived on was a multi-force base in Europe, and we had that same experience in the States when we got back. It was a multi-service base up there in Michigan, at Selfridge Air National Guard Base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had quite a bit of multiplicity, in our assignments and meeting people from different, nationalities and that. That was great. I love that. Ramona, did you made some German friends there, didn't you?
Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
One lady, we kept in communication after I got back to the States. Her name was Doris. Yeah, and then I can't remember the other lady's name, but she's the one that taught me how to make cordon bleu. And go.
Thank
to
you,
the
Doris.
But when you go shopping in their grocery stores, all the meat is fresh, so it has a fresh meat smell.
Yeah.
And I was pregnant with our daughter when we went over there, so going in there shopping with that, because in the commissary on the base, which is a grocery store, like everything was frozen. So when you go to the off base,
The markets. Yeah.
that's the smell. I had never smelled, fresh meat.
Yeah.
And then being pregnant, I had to leave out.
Wow.
But I remember when I first got there, I said, honey, we were out, he was showing me around downtown, and I said, well, let's get something to eat. I'd like a burger. He said, for the next 3 years, you're going to be eating schnitzel. and I was like, oh, gosh. And I couldn't get used to it. I couldn't get used to the bread because we keep our bread in something so it stays soft.
Sure.
And they leave theirs out. And by the time I left Germany, I loved it.
Yeah.
What are they called? Brochen.
Brochen. Yeah.
I loved it. But when I first got there, I had a hard time adjusting because when you go out, even everything they drink is room temperature. They don't use ice and
Wow.
different things in
Yeah,
there.
I think I can remember the guys because when I was in Texas, the main guy used to fly to Germany, and he used to say you had to get used to drinking stuff hot or warm. It's room temperature, I guess you'd say.
Yes.
So that's amazing. So
It was good.
So
though.
were you in the ministry when you was in?
No.
No.
I was actually a part of the Defense Department's Race Relations Equal Opportunity Program.
Okay.
And so I was assigned to the unit there to help the commander to assess the environment of the various units. I was at the main headquarters units, and then they had satellite units all over Europe.
All right.
Nuclear-based units, And so I would travel out to those units and talk with the commanders, talk with the troops, have a seminar, and then move on. That was my job. If we had a problem, we would work on the problem. I advised the commander what I found, and then he'd make a decision about what he wanted to do.
It don't seem like years ago, I mean, we didn't have many problems with military. If we did, we didn't hear about it, but
No, race relations problems were. There were not many. I mean, they're just overt type problems. There weren't.
yeah,
Now, individual feelings, sometimes that affected the way a person did something or connected with somebody on the job.
sure.
I'll give you a good example. When I went to Laos, right? Now, in Laos, I had kind of a two-pronged position. I worked at a communications council, and I was a race relations instructor, advisor for the unit. There was a guy in the unit that would never come over to my console. He would never come over to my console, and he was a repairman, a serviceman, and he would never come over to check anything. And so I asked the guys, I said, what's wrong with this guy? His name was Jeremiah. What's wrong with Jeremiah? They said, Jeremiah's granddaddy told him that black people don't bleed. So he saw me as kind of inhuman.
Yeah.
But I outranked him, right? So I hollered at him. I said, Jeremiah, I said, come here. He looked at me. I said, come here. He came over to the console. I took a paper clip and I punched my finger. You know, I was I was on it. And squeezed the blood out. I said, you see this? Now, I don't know who told you that we don't, but you can see it for yourself. And he walked away. He was very quiet. About 2 weeks later, he rotated out, and the guy said his whole countenance was just different.
Yeah.
You know, so I said to myself, just not too long ago, I said, man, I sure like to run into him now.
Yeah.
And see kind of where he's at, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
We never had, or I don't ever remember having any kind of issues or anything. Of course, I was in Texas and away from I was a little bit protected because of the job I had, but in Nam, we just didn't have issues like that.
Oh, no,
I mean,
no.
we just didn't have anything like that come up. I mean, everybody's worried about surviving.
That's
rather
right.
than
Taking care of each
anything
other.
else, so.
That's right, that's right. Did you notice any problems at any installations that we were at?
Well, not necessarily with the military people, but when we were in Germany, a German young lady told me that they were told that at night black people would grow tails.
Yeah, that's right.
And I said,
What?
yes. I said, what?
Come
You
on.
know, I was thinking in my
Yeah.
head now, let's see, how am I going to demonstrate this?
Yeah.
Well,
can't get
it was
over
quite
that.
obvious when
Yeah.
we were out in the evening that we were, but they were friendly. They were very, very friendly, though.
They were.
And so eager to try to teach us different things
Sure.
about Germany,
Yeah.
and then they wanted to know a lot about the military as well. But they were very, very friendly. Very, you know what I noticed when we first got there and was living in town, there was always a lot of traffic when you're going on the base, but they're so courteous. They
Yeah.
would always let you in, not like here, where people just pass by and they see you got your blinker on trying to get in. But they were very courteous drivers. Very. It took me a while to get used to the Autobahn
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the driving
because
experience.
there's no
speed
speed
limit.
limit.
Yeah, my brother, I think, said that. the
Yeah.
Autobahn. I remember him talking about that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing 80 going to Frankfurt, and a car comes up passing me like I'm sitting
A
still.
little beetle.
Did you feel any stress being a military spouse? Did you feel like there was stress to that? Did you communicate with like the civilians?
Oh, yeah, I
that were-
communicated with them. I think the biggest stress for me is Ronald's position was always with, they would have dinners and things, and we would have to
command
go
unit.
to.
Yeah.
And they were all, he would be the only NCO. Everybody else is in there as officers.
Yeah.
And I would tell him, I don't want to go to that, you know, because I felt like, now that was stressful for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do the wrong
Sure.
thing, say the wrong thing, whatever. And Ronald would tell me, just be yourself. Talk about what you want to talk about. And so, but it took me a while to get used to that. Every base we were on, or post, he was always the only NCO,
Oh, wow.
and there was always
Not on the base.
not
but
on
yeah,
the base,
but
but
in the-
in his what do you call it? In your
division or department.
yes, and so Christmas parties, only NCO wife there. It was different.
You know, my department actually was small. It would be me, an officer, secretary, and maybe an assistant for me. But 4 or 5 people at the most, you know. But we were a part of the command unit. So you'd have the general, whoever here, and then, you know, us over here, another department over here, and that kind of thing. So whenever they had something, he'd pull us all together. And
I was lucky because when I went to Nam, of course I was young then, but when I come back to the States, I was an E4, but everybody around me was like an E7, E8, E9, or a major up. So then I because of the job I did, I worked with the chief of staff of security service. So John Macy, he was a bird colonel. So when I went around, when he'd tell me to do something, he may, because he's a pilot, he may want a pair of glasses or something at the commissary or the BX or something. Well, all I had to do was just go, well, they're from Macy. And they knew it'd be taken care of. So, I mean, I used to get a lot of just free stuff because he had so much clout with everything. So, I mean, I really had it made in the States. And then the colonel, when I worked for him, he would let me do anything I wanted to do. I had too much free time. But if he had to go someplace, he insisted on 3 or 4 of us going with him. So we would have to go, not really escorting, but if you will, carry the water for him and do stuff like that. And so I had it made. I mean, I looking back at it, boy, I should have probably stayed in Texas, but I chose to go back to Nam, and he just kept telling me that's not going to happen. He said, you need to stay here, and I'll take care of you. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. So I remember when he walked in December the 18th, 1969, threw those orders on my desk. He said, you're out of here. He said, I'll see you in a couple months, though. So I went to Nam, and then this other guy worked for, Major, that I worked for, later came over, and he became the commander of our unit in Vietnam. So it was, all those guys, they were officers, but I didn't read them that way. You know, you had to respect the line because they were officers, but they always invited me to different things that I enjoyed.
We only got about 4 minutes left.
Okay.
So anything you wanted to share with people before because they always got a few announcements you got to make.
Just that I absolutely loved it because
That's
of the
good.
camaraderie and all of those things. That's what I missed the most.
Yeah.
Sure.
The camaraderie was wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it was great. I
Good.
enjoyed my
Well, I've enjoyed that today. That's. I've got a few announcements I want to make in the veteran community, which is our parade is November the 6th, which is Saturday. It starts at 12 o'clock, 12th and Main Street. Lineup is at 11 o'clock. We really need some entries. If you've got an antique car, a truck, anything that you want to drive in the parade, you're welcome to do that. The car show is also Saturday, November 6th and 7th. Actually, it's 8 to 6 on Saturday, 9 to 4 on Sunday. and that's going to be at the Raper Building out by the Kuhlman Center, which is out on Salisbury Road. November 23rd is the food pantry at Seabach. That'll be a big food pantry because it's November or Thanksgiving. That's from 9 to 12 at Seabach. So if you know someone or if you need someone that needs a box, come on down between 9 and 12 at Seabach.
Is it 23rd?
November the 23rd, 9 o'clock at Seabach. And then our Veterans Day ceremony is November the 11th at 11 o'clock at Veterans Park. There'll be a turkey dinner at Post 65 afterwards. So those are important things for the veteran community. November the 6th is the parade. Starts at 12 o'clock. That's going to, if you remember the last show we had Keith and and we were going to go actually close to the market or something. We was going to try to get some involvement with the market when we did all of that stuff. So, and then the car show Saturday, November 6th and 7th at the Raper Building in the Kuhlman Center, November 23rd. The food pantry, Veterans Day, November 11th, 11 o'clock at Veterans Park.
Yeah, all right. You know, we could add to that parade maybe some military dependents marching the parade.
Yeah, if you want to just come and you can, and you're able to just walk in the parade, it's a good experience, and we need some entries this year. We're running a little short of entries, so hopefully we'll be able to do that. So those are just some things that are coming up in the veterans community. November the 11th, or November, as the month of November is a busy month for the veteran community.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's not counting all the other regular meetings that go on. That's just like extra. So.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, we got to go. Time kind of went by, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did.
Yes.
And Ramona, I want to thank you
Okay.
for coming on and being with us this morning. Enjoyed that. You got to have to do it again.
Well, yeah.
Because there's still a lot of stuff, as I'm sitting here
Yeah.
thinking right now, that we didn't even talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then,
Well,
Okay,
thanks.
so-
It was really enjoyable
Yeah,
to do that,
yeah.
to get to know you a little bit, but, or her a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So
know
we'll
you a
look
little
at
bit,
maybe
but-
maybe the first of the year or something
Yeah,
like that.
maybe we can do
All
that.
right, folks. Well, listen, we got to go.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, and God willing, we see you back here in about 4 weeks.
About 4 weeks.
Okay. All right. All right.
Thank you.
We'll see you. Bye bye.
Cronin Toyota and Cronin Nissan are honored to partner with Proudly We Served, as well as the continued support of our local active and retired military veterans across eastern Indiana.